Okay, no big surprises in the beginning of the video, at least this week, because I have been getting better at getting things up on Instagram. And I'm sorry, I can't help but feel like my tripod looks like it's crooked, but I try to align things with the shelves behind me and they look straight there. So if this whole video was skewed, I apologize. But I was just gonna do some odds and ends, customizing, hybrid work, like the body that I'd taken the knees out of, the live body for the articulated curvy custom, which I will get to, but I said if you've followed me on Instagram and Flickr, you've seen this. So I was initially going to take the live feet and put them on this doll. It's 1987 skipper head with a face up in Takara Jenny style by Cheshire Tiffy. And I mean, you can't see it because of the scarf, because I dressed her for fall because I'm so ready for fall, even though it doesn't get cold anymore. But, well, especially not here in Middle Tennessee. I grew up in Indiana. Southern Indiana. It's not northern, super northern Indiana, but southern Indiana. It's enough of a climate zone difference, even without other factors, that the winters here just aren't the winters that I was used to growing up. Anyway. So, ready to dress her for fall because I'm ready for fall. And the problem with this body is the Star Darlings bodies have feet that are unlike any other doll's feet. So, fortunately, I can get these WITCH shoes on her. But this is like one of the few pairs of shoes that I can get on these feet, so I thought, well, I could give these live feet to this body, because even though live feet aren't great, they're still more versatile than this. But the color match was... I mean, I was going to accept the color match being bad because I don't often dress dolls in a ways that you can see the feet, especially live feet. But I decided that because the Star Darlings' hips are so weird, if you remember, instead of having the pins go in like this, they go in like this. So the doll really can't sit. And because she's wearing tights, I can't do it. Like if you pull the leg out, you can just spin it on this axis at an angle. So I might eventually give her better feet, but only if I can ever figure out how to give her better hips. I do have another Star Darlings body I can experiment with. The other thing about this body, again, I'm not hiding anything in the neck, I just like the look of the scarf, but Star Darlings have kind of a bulb on the top of their neck. It's not quite like the old clone dolls who just have the spear, but I had to grind that cone down pretty far. And the neck is now just a column to get it to work with this Mattel head. So anyway, I do want to get this body fixed up to be more versatile, to have better hips and better feet, but I decided not now. However, I did take those live feet and give them to the same body I gave that live body's neck to, which is Levia. Let me get her fiddly necklace fixed. On the DMLE 2.5 action figure body. I do think it makes her legs look a bit short and stubby, but I don't know if they do or if that's just because I'm so used to the way the DML legs look with the DML feet, which are a lot bigger. I mean, she could wear like hen shoes, but I want her to wear cuter shoes. So I gave her the live feet. Again, live feet are not as versatile as Barbie feet, but still. I might eventually, I don't think I will give her the live hand. I might give her the live hands, I might not. I'm not sure. I don't like the live hands that much. And like I said, the DML plastic is pretty notorious for cracking, and there is a big crack on this side of the wrist. But since she's keeping these hands for now, I went ahead and just by hand with the smallest bit from my drill bit set drilled a hole into her finger that I could put this ring in from the Novi Stars that I got last week. So that's her. And then the big one that everyone is interested in is my attempt to give articulation to a Curvy. And as you can see, I think it worked out pretty well. I ended up, instead of instead of using elbows from Liv, which can be done very well, I went ahead and used these Hobby Base PPC T10 Hobby Base ball shaped joints in flesh color. This, I'll show you the back. Hopefully I got it lined up right. Should I use the 10mm? Pretty sure it's the 10mm. And a nice thing about using the ball joints is that you can rotate her whole lower arm, which almost gives a substitute for wrist articulation. Not perfectly, but okay. And I had the usual problem. I mean, I cut her arms off starting in the bend of the elbow to under the, whatever you call the point of the elbow. It's like if the elbow had a kneecap, it would be the elbow's kneecap. So I made the cut that way, and then I used a round Dremel bit, spherical Dremel bit, to like make a cavity up inside the top of the arm and the bottom of the arm, and then I drilled up and into it. I will say initially I used a smaller connector and it was horrible, and I thought it was a terrible idea, and I was going to have to scrap that idea and go ahead and cut off more of the arms and put Liv arms on, but I slept on it. And one of the things I thought when I was going to sleep was I should, it's too buried for me to grab, I should look at that action figure body that I have, that I got from Josh, and maybe think about just cutting off its arms around the elbow and using that elbow. But I looked at it and it has 10cm ball spheres in it, so it's, oh, okay. So I just need to use larger than I had been using, because I had been initially using these tiny ones, which are, I guess, 3mm, 6mm, because I wanted to be as low profile as possible, but it was not working. It was not holding up to her joints. I mean, trying to twist it, I just broke it apart. So I went ahead and used this larger joint, and it works very well. So I know that's not something that you can just, most people can just pull out of their parts bins like you can with a Liv. Like the original idea I saw for the elbows or the knees, and I will get to the knees. I will say this ideas came from Strange's doll collection on Tumblr. I'll try to remember to put a link below, but also I have found it by searching Strange's doll collection, that's all one word, Tumblr, and Curvy. And then you find it's a 3-part series for how Strange's doll collection put in, I think her name's Trista, put in the elbows from a Liv and the knees from a Liv on her Curvy. So I also, I don't know if you can see where I ground the top of the elbow flat. I can't see a big cat hair, you can probably see too. So that she get, in theory, get a little more range of motion, but that only works when she's bending onto that area. Everywhere else. So if you do this, if you can even get these, like as I was rambling on, I know these aren't things that you have, everybody has in their parts stores. I only have them because Axel Spark / Retrograde Works / Ellie gave me some after she had gotten some from either Hobby Link Japan or Hobby Search Japan to repair a doll figure she had. So, but you can get these on eBay, you can get them there. And it works. But the Liv elbows that Strange's doll collection did work too. Now let me back up a little bit more. I was having my usual problem when I was drilling out the arms to fit these in. These are, of course, metric. I mean, it even says on the back that it's a 3mm pin. I'm an American. I have American Imperial drill bits. So in the past, when I've tried to use these hobby-based parts, I usually end up drilling the hole too big and then wrapping Teflon tape around everything and hoping it works, or maybe even squirting in hot glue. And then, yes? he goes back to school next week. Anyway, if you're going to put a joint into hot glue, you can cover it with a release agent, which would just be dish soap, something slippery. And I think it'll work if you're actually working with epoxy putty too. And before the hot glue is dried, or before your epoxy putty is cured, you put the thing in with the release agent, or I think even petroleum jelly will work, and move it around, and because it's covered with the slippery stuff, it will not bond with your hot glue or your putty. So like John just added elbows to one of his broad Kens, and when he cut the arm open, the entire inside was hollow, so he filled that cavity with the hot glue and then put the joint in.
Milk, please.
All right, hold on. And you want to talk to the camera while I'm getting your milk? Excuse me. And after he'd filled the cavity of the arm with hot glue, he stuck his new elbow pin in covered with dish soap so the hot glue could not adhere to it. And now he has articulated elbows for his broad Ken. But, like I was saying, my drill bits are not the right size. I usually drill too big and then pack the drill hole with something or wrap something around the peg so it fits. But this time I remembered, I think I even said it last time in the last video and I forgot about it. Since this is vinyl, all I had to do was drop it in some boiled water, and then I was able to get the pins into slightly small holes and everything fits. It still works itself apart if you move it a lot, but it's good enough for pictures and things. So I probably will not give her wrist articulation, even though these really small pegs, ball-shaped joints, are the right size for wrist articulation, because, as I mentioned before, I do not like working with vinyl because you can't really sand it smooth. Although John's suggestion to use, my fingernails are dirty. I used spray paint the other day, so I still haven't gotten everything out from under my fingernails. Anyway, John's suggestion to use acetone to smooth out the vinyl did work, but I have not done that yet because I don't want to risk melting the ball-shaped joint. But the knees were where we were last week, and if you'll excuse me for bringing her skirt up, this is where our knees are now. I sanded them fairly smooth, and then I mixed up some paint for the airbrush, and I must say that in pictures it looks like the paint doesn't match. It looks like the paint ends there, but what that is the putty, which being a gray base, since I didn't prime it, the gray is showing through a little bit, and being a different texture, it's a lot smoother than the vinyl leg. That changes the way the color looks. I will say, when I airbrushed these knees, I didn't mask anything off. I just held the body and airbrushed. So with that in mind, there would be paint visible all up and down the legs, except I impressed myself with what a good job I did mixing a paint match for this skin tone, which I think it was like mostly the craft paint called Wild Rice with some game color called Elf Flesh and some game color called Bone White, which is ivory, and some game color called Dwarven Flesh. And I mixed it up by eye, and I did not test paint on her before I airbrushed her. I just went straight in and airbrushed because we've established I'm pretty impatient, but I think it worked out pretty well. And I'm happy with this, and I just wish Mattel would give us a body that can move better than this by default. I will say I'm not too impressed with their collector level curvy bodies because the physique is completely different. The torso is very different. It looks to me a lot more like the Wonder Woman torso and not the curvy, pudgy torso. But anyway, so here we are, and obviously I put a Rika head on it because, like I said, before I started this whole, it'll be quick knee project, I discovered that the Rika head looks really cute on the curvy body. And I almost bought another pale curvy body today because we were in Walmart and they are clearing out last season's fashionistas that didn't really sell well. So there was, for $4 each, there was a whole stack of Zig and Zags and what the dot one, the Asian pale curvy with the polka dots. And the other one that had caught my eye is the tall Barbie that I think looks like a Darcy CoverGirl doll. I did not buy any of those today, but I'll think about it, because on the one hand, this was a lot more trouble than I thought it would be. On the other hand, if I could get ZZ, my Zig and Zag, to have articulation, I would be happy. But those are my major doll modification projects. I'm still thinking, I still have plenty of dolls that I want to customize and maybe modify, but that quick burst of activity on doll customizing and modification hybridization I had last week and the week before, I think is spent for now. But I did work on this. I obviously have not cut it out and attempted to make it to see if my vectorization of it is true to my sample pattern that I made. But I will try that, and then once it's worked out, if I don't have to tweak anything, then I will add the instructions. That's how I usually do it. I don't worry about the instructions until I have the pattern down. So hopefully sometime soon I'll be able to share this with you. But remember, you get what you pay for with my patterns. And it's not really dolls, but when I was working with the airbrush, since I was in the airbrush mood, I decided to do something else I've been thinking of for a while. Is a few months ago I thrifted this completely ridiculous vinyl Stegosaurus toy that, for whatever reason, the scales on it were just this almost perfect grid. And I knew that it would be fun to paint just completely ridiculous, and I did. She's not finished. I didn't get the gloss onto the bottom because I needed it to dry before I could pick it up and turn it over and paint the bottom, but still, the nice pastel aesthetic, iridescent, glittery Stegosaurus. I haven't taken pictures of her yet because she's not dry. She wasn't dry yet. I will get pictures of her. I also absconded with a bunch of pastel dice from Husband's Dice collection that for some reason I want to take a picture of this and the pastel dice and any other pastel that's for boys nerdy things that I can find around the house, because I'm sure that I can. Because, you know, girls aren't supposed to like dinosaurs and girls aren't supposed to play dice games, but we know that's not true. So, Sparklesaurus. And let's see, get this stuff out of the way because I'm going to have a big thing coming up in a moment. I did start sewing another ridiculously loud t-shirt for the kiddo last night, but I got distracted and didn't get it finished. I had to buy a new iron. Yesterday my iron was, when the iron was cycling, when the element was cycling on, you know, normally it makes the lights dim a bit as that heating element kicks in, but yesterday it was making my stereo go off. And then when I came up last night after being away for dinner and stuff, there was a big soggy spot under my iron. It's like, oh, so I wonder if there was water dripping onto the electronic part and that was dangerous to use. So this morning I got another iron. So I'm a little sad because I had to pull all my stickers off of the other iron. And but this iron's green and white, so I can put stickers on it, have my iron be all aesthetic too. And I also treated myself to some of these today because I love back to school stuff, but I don't usually buy any for myself, at least not until it's on sale. But I haven't had fun pens for a while. I mean, I still have Sharpies from high school in all the different colors Sharpies have ever come in. So that's part of the reason I haven't bought a lot of fun gel pens, is because I tend to keep stuff for a long time. I don't know if I have anything else particularly ancient in here. I wonder if any of these can be aesthetic. So, but ridiculous fun. And then I had been contacted by Susan, who had actually sent a really lovely box of stuff to Aunt Picaro. And she said she had some for me, especially since she was moving and had some stuff to clear out. And I went to pick that up from the post office today. It's a big box. I guess I will put it down next to me, since I don't have a nice spot on the floor like Aunt Picaro does when she opened the box. I did not think this box would be as big as Anne's box, but it is. Thank you, Susan. I'm already overwhelmed in a good way. Yeah, next week the kiddo goes back to school, and I've been thinking, oh boy, so I can go back a thrifting again, but the box this big, I probably won't have to go thrifting. I might not have to go thrifting for a long time now, which is fine, because there is so much I could do just from this stuff that you sent, let alone combine it with the stuff I already had and projects that I could make. And that just might lead to me making fewer doll modifications and customs. But I am still really happy with how this turned out. And if anybody else would like to do stuff like this, like I said, I'm pretty sure at this point I've split this into 2 videos. Put at the bottom of the last video the link to Strange's Doll Collections tutorial, and I will put it at the bottom of this video. Because until Mattel makes articulated Curvies, we gotta do it ourselves. I mean, mass-produced, readily available articulated Curvies who actually have curvy bodies, not an altered Wonder Woman body. I don't know why that bothers me so much. Because I guess it's because that curvy body, I mean, people complain about this curvy body still being a little too fit looking and not rolly enough, not squishy enough to look real, but that other body is really athletic. But speaking of athletic dolls, I guess I should have put this in the other doll video. We've got those WWE bodies coming from Mattel soon. Those ladies will have a new body to choose from. It's not quite as ripped as the She-Ra figures. But I'll stop talking now. I will get her worked in with my ideal Tiffany Taylor and the other larger doll that is sitting on that side. My BJDs are on that side of my desk. The other random large dolls are on that side of the desk. Like whenever Scary Godmother finally arrives, she might be there, or that might be when I completely rearrange everything. Because the Scary Godmother, they're finally trying to get everything finished, so hopefully I'll have that soon. And like I said, I don't have to go thrifting, because I got all this stuff. Thank you, Susan. I'm going to go throw socks on my kid. Thanks for watching. Bye.